Nothing beats a classic stew. And I'm going to show you a Schofield favourite. This one is cooked with some beef chuck and I'm going to add some pancetta and not only wine, but some sherry. It's absolutely delicious. Now, the first thing we need to do is sear off our beef. Now, I'm using chuck beef, and what I've done is cut it into quite large chunks, about 5 centimetres, and I've just added some flour and I just tossed it all together. By doing that, we're going to help thicken our sauce later on. So you can see here, I've already started the process. When you're making a stew, you want to cook your meat in batches. If you add it all together, then it'll start to sweat and we won't get that gorgeous caramelisation that we're after, because caramelisation equals flavour. So after you've got some good colour on the meat, we'll just place it onto a plate just for a moment while we get our onions on. So always in stages. I start with the meat, then in the hot pan we'll add some olive oil, just a lighter style extra virgin olive oil. Now I'm going to be adding my red onions and I'll add half of these, so 1 whole red onion into the pot and then the rest keep. Stews always tend to have that dark uniform colour, but to really brighten it up I'm going to be adding some pickled onions and we'll make that a little later on. So we'll just give that a quick stir. While they're sautéing, some carrots for some sweetness, 2 carrots, and I'm just going to cut them into 1 centimetre rounds. And usually you'd add some celery, but for this I just want to keep it very simple, just with a trilogy of onions, carrot and pancetta. Now the pancetta gives this a wonderful depth of flavour, beautiful savouriness and a pop of saltiness. So just cube pancetta and a little bit of fat in the pancetta is good because again, that's flavour. Okay, so you need about 120 to 160 grams of the pancetta and we'll just let all of these flavours get to know each other in the pot. And in with some garlic, finely chopped, just a few cloves, 1 bouquet garni, and this is bay leaves, so got some thyme and some parsley. And I tie it up just to make it easier to fish out right at the end. So that's just going in to give our stew some flavour. And now some orange. Beef and orange are fantastic flavours together. So we want 1 strip of orange. So I'm just going to peel that off and we'll add that. You'll be surprised how much flavour you get out of 1 peel. Some tomato paste. Tomato paste is going to enrich in this, but it's also going to help thicken our sauce. And I do like to cook that off because I don't want that raw flavour of the tomato paste. Okay, now it does seem like quite a lot of alcohol, but I promise it is going to cook off because it's going to bubble away. So we'll start with 300 to 350 mils of red wine. You want to use a full-bodied red wine for this, something like a Shiraz or a Cabernet Sauvignon. And also some sherry. Now this is going to give this a lovely sweetness, so around 300 mils of sherry. And now we just need to wait for a moment. So let this reduce by 1/3 and then we can return the meat. Now the alcohol is cooked off, it's reduced, it's smelling so good. But we need to add more liquid to this so it can cook long and slow. So use a good quality beef stock for this and we're just going to add them straight in to our pot. And I like to add my beef stock in before I add the beef, just so it can mix in with the red wine and the sherry. So give that a mix, just so it's quite even. And it really does look like quite a lot of stock, but this is going to cook for a few hours in the oven. So the meat can go in, lovely pieces of beef chuck, and any juices on the plate, please add that too. We'll just make sure we bob them in the liquid, and I'll need 1 piece of baking paper and just scrunch it up. That just makes it more pliable. And I like to add the baking paper just before I add the lid, and this will just make sure it stays really moist as it cooks in the oven. You can do this on the stove top, but I really like a stew when it's cooked long and slow in the oven for a beautiful, even low temperature. So 160 degrees for about 2 hours or until the meat is super tender. While the beef stew is cooking, a little pickle, so those remaining onions, we just want to separate with our fingers, so nice little slices. I'll add some sugar and a good pinch of salt. And then we just want to add a splash of sherry vinegar, but you can use any vinegar for this. And I like to use my hands just to press that pickling liquid into the onions and just allow them to sit for about 2 hours. And this is a lovely addition to any stew. I wish you could smell this. I say that a lot, but I really mean it because it smells really good. It's been cooking for a while and the cartouche, or the piece of baking paper, has done its job. Look at this thick, rich sauce. I want to just show you a piece of the chuck. And as it cooks long and slow, it just falls apart. You can use your fingers just to pull that apart. Oh, you know, the Schofields, they love their stew. And this one really takes the cake. Just keep it classic with a good mashed potato. So we'll pop that to one side of the dish and a generous spoonful of the stew, 2 big chunks of the meat. And look at this gorgeous gravy made with a really nice stock, so you get that deep, rich colour. Pop that down, and for that little zing, that pickle, make sure you grab some of those pickled onions just over the top. All right, better have a little taste of this. Soft, tender meat. Oh, look at that. And make sure you get the pickles. This dish is so me. Every time I taste a stew like this, it just tastes like home.